Well, hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here with some amazing school leaders and teachers. I can't wait to introduce them to you. As you know, whenever I come before you, I always spend a little bit of time in my scripture. And so today's scripture that jumped out at me, and I hope it means something for you as it meant for me, is from John verse 1:16. For from his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. Man, when I look at these faces of this group before us today, I think of the grace upon grace because I have been honored and privileged to know them for decades. And so I'm excited to have you all with me today. So, welcome to Sharing the Good with Dr. Denise Ball. I'm so grateful you're here. I am your host today, and I am honored to begin this series in this special conversation under the Middle School Culture Blueprint. Today's episode is titled The Middle School Culture Blueprint Reflections from the Field, Creating a Positive Start to the 26-27 school year. This conversation and this series is connected to the manuscript I'm writing with Dr. LaTonya White, Associate Superintendent for the Archdiocese of Miami, who also has a burning passion, like everyone with us today, to just give middle school teachers resources for their middle school students so that they can create environments of joy where learning can thrive. So, these amazing educators that I have with me today choose to serve and make a difference on their campuses and in the schools they support. So, with me, we are joined today by Dr. Nancy Baker, Principal School of the Incarnation in the Archdiocese of Baltimore. Where are
Hello,
you, Nancy?
everyone. Here we go.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. We also have Mary Peters, teacher at St. Anne's Catholic School in the Archdiocese of Detroit.
Hello, good to be here today.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us, Mary. We have Lindsay Rivas, soon to be Doctor of Education, who serves as the Director for Educational Programs for the Archdiocese of Washington. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi everyone, happy to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Karina Lipkowski, Principal of Most Holy Trinity Academy in the Archdiocese of Detroit. Welcome, Karina.
Thank you. Welcome. It's good to see everyone.
And you're back with us, Karina. So you're a familiar face to the Share the Good community. And then we have Trisha Florence, teacher at Most Holy Trinity Academy in the Archdiocese of Detroit. Welcome, Trisha.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be
Oh,
here.
wow. How blessed are we to have all of you with us today? And so today's conversation is meant to be informal, joyful, practical, and rooted in experience. You all come with a wealth of experience serving as middle school teachers and leaders, and now diocesan leader. So, I am excited about your wisdom nuggets that you're going to be able to share that will help teachers and leaders prepare for a strong, positive start to the 2026-27 school year. So let's begin. Why middle school matters. To begin, I'd love each of you to share one word or phrase that comes to mind when you think about middle school students and the start of the school year. We know that school leaders and middle school teachers like yourself are preparing to welcome the middle school students back. What's one word or phrase that comes to mind when you think about that beginning school year when it comes to middle school students? We'll start with you, Nancy.
Mm, I think, do I have to choose just one? Because I think two words just keep coming to mind. So one is crossroads, and the other for me is eager. So I think the middle school students are eager and full of potential.
Oh, amen to that.
That
And
was three
doesn't
words, though. That
that's
was
okay. There's no wrong here.
yeah.
And doesn't every middle school student need to hear that?
Mhm.
Love that. All right, Lindsay, I'll go to you.
I have a phrase, so mine is season of self-discovery and
Oh,
understanding who they are.
season of self-discovery. Thank you. Awesome. Yes, let's help guide them that way. Mary.
So I thought about this for quite a bit, and I felt like there's such a difference between sixth graders and eighth graders.
Mm,
And I felt like the sixth graders are nervous, but they're eager. They're like ready, right? They want to do it, but they definitely are nervous. where the eighth graders, they are ready. They are ready to lead. They're growing still, but they're ready to lead. And so when I tried to like go down to just a simple phrase, I came up with ready for success.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. And if we could keep them there, really comfortable in their shoes, right? And to
Right.
move forward. Amazing. Okay, Trisha, to you. Karina, I'll end with you for this one.
Potential.
Mm.
I think there's just great potential. Like Mary said, sixth graders are so eager and eighth graders just want to go and lead. There's so much potential that just needs to be stroked and made to where it needs to go.
That's right. May the Holy Spirit always use us as the fire to blow on, to keep it lit. Karina, thank you for that, Trisha.
Sure. So I would say training ground, right? This is that transitional period in their lives where they're not being babied as elementary students, right? They're not being constantly told what to do, right? This is the stage where now all of that parents have put in, all of that character, all of that faith is now starting to kind of bubble up to see where they're going to take it before they leave us into high school and beyond, right? So for me, middle school is a training ground where they're starting to exercise their autonomy and how they are going to be perceived and act once they leave our school, and what they're taking from their parents and how they're putting that into practice. So
I
that's
love
my
that. Karina, I will say, and we'll break this open a little bit more, and you're all kind of touching base on this, but it is so essential that we create that space, that sacred space for that middle school student it's almost like we need to give them a toolbox so that they can see their potential, that they can feel and channel their eagerness and what to do with it, and just really be assured that they are seen, that they are heard, so that they have that sense of belonging, so that they are ready for that next step. I used to tell my parents when I was a principal and a middle school teacher, those 3 years of middle school, we're so used to pre-K through 5, and we're like, oh, we have time. You really don't in middle school. It goes by like that. So every day is so essential. So these are beautiful reminders from you guys. I'm not surprised. Um, Middle school is a season of becoming. The students, as you mentioned, are growing academically, socially, emotionally, and spiritually. The way we welcome them and guide them and create structure around them matters deeply. So let's begin with adults who welcome them first, our teachers and you. So, what can school leaders do before students return to help our middle school teachers feel prepared, valued, and ready to begin the year with confidence? Now, I'm going to put a preface in there. Being a principal for over 10 years before I became assistant or associate superintendent, I know middle school teachers just want to go and plan on their own. I know that, but it's really important that as a school leader, we give them some framework, that we model what it means to pull that team together. Because every year we could have the same middle school teachers year on, year out, but the students are different. And so we have to kind of have those real conversations as a middle school team. How can we build our framework as a middle school team? So let's start with you, Lindsay. Can you give us a diocesan perspective on what leaders can do to support school teams at the beginning of the school year?
Absolutely. So I think the default sometimes is to overplan. And we're
Yeah.
going to have meetings all day, the whole teacher work week. And I think that just starts people off on a grumbling start to the school year, and they want to be in their classrooms and they want to set up. But to really, like you said, Denise, take that time to plan PD that's not talking at teachers.
Mm.
Especially like a workshop model. That's something that I've been toying around with in the different roles that I have, where it's not just I'm giving you the information, but we're going to I'm going to figure out the strengths of this team. Every team is different, and lean on those strengths so they have that structured time to collaborate with each other and build out that framework for the school year that honors their experience as teachers and honors that they know their students. I can go into a classroom, but they know their students. I can go into a school, but they know their community more than I can. So I like to hear from those teachers to kind of honor that experience.
I love that. And research shows right now with the teacher retention phenomenon that teachers want to have voice and agency that's an excellent way to give that. So thank you for that. Nancy, principal
Mhm.
perspective on welcoming faculty back. How do you make sure to give them some little guidance there?
Mhm. I think, Denise, because you've worked with me, you know me, like taking care of teachers is a passion of mine as an
Yes, you
administrator.
have, and you have an amazingly
And
large and wonderful team.
I do. We have a very large school. We have, well, over 100 people on staff, including faculty and staff. So, but I like to say we're a big family. So it's
Yeah.
really important for us. And I think in this time, where our life is so fast paced that it's really important for leaders to really make time to take care of the human side of our teachers and to build that community. So I think to kind of re-echo what Lindsay was saying, like in our in service and in those busy times, you think I have so many things that I need to deliver to my faculty and staff that are important, but reimagining like how can I deliver them to them? Can I deliver them asynchronous, asynchronously?
We know
And
what you mean.
and and we're actually doing that this year. We're creating some videos that they can, just do some of that training and communicate that, trying to avoid the what I call the talking memo, like Lindsay's, like just talking at them, and instead creating real intentional times for them to be together, not just to plan, though. I would argue that it's also to build that community because
Yes.
teaching is so hard,
Yes.
and it can be sometimes people, I think, from the outside look at education, they think, oh, you're with people all day long. But really, teachers are not. They're in their classrooms, they're with their students, and no one understands what a teacher does except for another teacher. So
Yeah.
um, creating those strong relationships helps them get through the hard times that are coming. We do want to share the joy, we want to have these positive experiences, but there will be tough times during the course of the school year, and they need that camaraderie. They need that sense of community. They need to have comrades in arms, so to speak,
Yes.
to help them maintain that generosity and that positive spirit when they are trying to help and serve students.
I love that, Nancy. And before I go to you, Karina, I just want to say when a couple weeks ago I had Dr. Anita Harkins Messling on, and she did a series with me on belonging this summer. And one of the things that she mentioned and encouraged for those who visit this channel or listen to on their favorite podcast is she said, to create that community, to have fun. And one of the ways that she did it was creating a scavenger hunt where it was like a fun game to get to know each other in a different way when they were welcome back. But then given that first day was all about fun, not like the first day was not, as Lindsay and you mentioned, Nancy, not about meetings and talking at you. I love the fact that you said you're creating videos ahead of time, but that takes intentional reflection and planning.
Mhm.
So I just want to say high five to you. I'm a big fan of systems and creating framework because I think that's where the creativity
Mhm.
and the lifting each other up when we walk through those challenging times, we're able to do it more easier with grace because that framework's in place. So thank you for that planning and that wisdom. And I hope that everyone listening will have some creative ideas with that and maybe run with it. Karina, as a principal and formal middle school teacher, what's your perspective there? What should school leaders be looking at? How can they help middle school teachers feel prepared and valued to begin the year with confidence?
I think for sure giving that space for them to come together right now. We're not like Nancy, we're on the other side of the spectrum. We're a very small school. I have three teachers on the middle school team, and I usually join them because I do feel called to middle school. Um, and one of the things that we're trying to do this year is really have that strong communication between the team upstairs and myself, right? Whether it be about behavior, just any type of, maybe developing drama that's coming out, but just giving them that time to kind of get that system in order. We talked before we left school last year about what we are going to do. So kind of coming back to that as a refresher and being able to kind of enter into that discussion as a group to move forward and make sure that we're all clear on the expectations, clear on the system that we're going to use and how we're going to implement it. So definitely giving space is key. And on the other side for myself, being a middle school teacher, I did appreciate having that time to like sit and talk with my colleagues about what the year was going to look like, what the planning, what the, kind of like the cadence was going to be for the year, right? So I'll agree on both sides that space and time is
That's it.
needed.
And that rhythm is so important. Mary and Tricia, a teacher perspective here, what are your thoughts? What do you need to see?
I'm hearing all wonderful things. One of the things that I like is the schedule. Like, what is the schedule going to be for that first week? So the sooner I have that, the more at ease I feel.
Yes.
And then I can look at it and say, okay, well, I have time to work with my colleagues in at this time, or I will have time to work in my classroom at that time. And so that helps me to be more at ease.
That's good. That's so important because teachers are naturally, for the most part, systems thinkers, and they like that framework. Trisha, do you want to add something there?
I definitely agree with Mary. That definitely helps me get set. But like Karina said, having a plan going in before we meet, um, how we reflected at the end of the year and started to actually do some stuff during the summer and look at things, it just gives us a nice perspective heading in, that we're on a path and we know the path we're on, and now it's just logistics, making sure we're all together and following what we want to do in the middle school itself.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Sometimes there's a misnomer out there, Trisha, that teachers and school leaders have the summer off.
Mhm.
In my 28 years serving schools, I've never seen it. So, and some of you are here with me today on your vacation. So, that's just a good example. So, thank you for your dedication and thank you for those little wisdom nuggets. Um, One of the themes of this work is joy that can grow when there's thoughtful framework in place. And I think, Nancy, you touched base on it a little bit. And all of you mentioned teachers don't need every minute to be scribed, but they do need clarity, support, and a space to prepare well. When we talk about belonging and support the unique needs of the middle school student, let's unpack this for a few minutes. What are practical ways middle school teachers and leaders can help students feel known and welcomed and connected during those first few days of school when we welcome them back? And what should leaders remember about this age group when planning the start of the year? So we'll start with you, Mary.
One of the things that I always try to do is to greet as many students by name as possible. As
Mm,
they're coming into class or in the hallway, just say their names, and make sure that they know that we know that they're there. And then I always like to say to kids, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here." So sometimes somebody might come in a minute late, or, they, I don't know, had trouble with their locker, or maybe they had a dentist appointment or something, and they get there and not, being mad, just, oh, I'm so glad you're here. It's just,
yes.
and then I think it sets them at ease when they hear that. Like, oh, okay, everything's going to be okay.
I love that, Mary. And I would say, I used to tell my teacher, well, many of you have taught for me. So I used to have a little pair of red sneakers. And I would say, and you're laughing, Lindsay, it's true, that we're here for the student. So whatever we have going on at home and whatever, we need to put on our red shoes and dance. Some of teaching is acting because we're putting on a persona for those students. And Mary,
Mhm.
it's just the same when we see them coming in stressed. We need to not react emotionally, but put on those red sneakers. And what do they need?
Right.
They need us to help them de-escalate
Yeah.
and to let them know that we're just so glad they're here. Because in today's day and age, they could have chosen any other scenario, right?
Right.
So thank you for that. Trisha, teacher perspective, what students need that first week?
I think they need to feel needed as well as being
Mm,
recognized.
Purpose is
It's their
powerful.
room as well as our room, and I
Yes.
think if we make it a big family right in the beginning, so I like to do group activities in the beginning of the year so they get comfortable with me as well as with each other.
Mm,
Um, for us, we are smaller, so a lot of them have been together, but there's always some new faces, and you want those faces to be included as well. So, you know, just taking the time out in the beginning of the day, just making sure they're okay if they had a rough morning to know what's going on, just so they know. I mean, that they're with us more sometimes than they are with their own
yes.
family.
Yeah. I love that. Trisha, I will say that, my children are in their 20s and both of them had you as a middle school teacher. And still, when we put our ornaments on our Christmas tree, so many of their ornaments are from their teachers and they reflect on their teachers, and you always come up as one of their favorite teachers. So
Thank
you
you.
created that sense of belonging,
Mhm.
I know, for the Ball children. Um, Karina, principal perspective on developmentally appropriate support. That first week of school, do you have any strategies? Are you queuing in on any students that maybe had a rough end so that you can help flip the switch and help them begin a new school year in a positive way? What are some of your strategies?
I think, as Mary said, connection, right, is being able to kind of greet all of the students. So that is one of my things that we do every morning is to greet all the students, make sure that they're, doing okay, how you doing? And if there's any of those small little things that that they do, right, those extracurricular activities or any other things that were on their radar while they were gone, right, to just connect with them. That's really a key thing for them. And then when I think about, kind of the overall students and just walking around and being present and seeing them and is just checking in with them, saying, hey, how are you doing today? How's it going? Yeah, you focused, you doing good? Um, and I know that sometimes it gets a little, as you said, right? We're actors. So it gets a little cringy, as the kids would say, right? When we start throwing out some of their vernacular. But I think that that also kind of helps them to see that, hey, I'm not taking myself too seriously when we're
Yeah.
trying to, just connect on a human level with you. And then they roll their eyes, but it's just all in fun, right? It's just to get them to kind of laugh and just be surprised that, oh, you know that? How do you know that? Oh, well, because, I'm invested in you guys and I want to know what's going on with you guys. So
Oh my
that's
gosh,
one of my
Karina, that
things.
was fire.
Thanks.
We had a hard time with that this year, actually, because our sixth and seventh grade, for example, sixth, sevens, our sixth and seventh grade had a lunch period and they were always grouped together. So anytime, like at morning prayer or something, I had to make an announcement. I was like sixth and seventh grade. It's like the whole school erupted in this whole. So at some point, you're right, Karina, we do just have to embrace it, right?
Yeah, we do. We just go with it. And then they're just like,
Mhm.
oh, why? Oh, because, we love you.
Yeah, and it creates joy too. And I think Nancy, you mentioned this. We're a family, and our
Mhm.
school campuses, the more we can create it like a family, that happens. And that's a beautiful, soft approach into the conversation, especially at the middle school level, that sometimes someone says something or laughs or snickers. A bodily function happens, everyone laughs, someone's shamed. Sometimes if we're a family, we can have that soft approach to like de-escalate and say, well, that
Mhm.
happens, doesn't it?
It
And
does.
just move on, right? Because we've created that environment of we don't take ourselves seriously.
Hmm.
And it's really hard to learn when everything is so rigid. And
Right.
in middle school, the rigidity is a juxtapose to where they're at developmentally.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. I think for us, like in that first week of school, if he's talking about developmentally, right? And that in the beginning, I said crossroads, right? Because they are, they so much want to be grown up, right? They
Yes.
want they want to be responsible. You have to call that out of them. But at the same time, you know, developmentally, they're still young, and there's
Yes.
so much you also have to kind of tap into that every once in a while and call them back. I actually think that's power of like K through 8 or pre-K through 8 education is you have those opportunities
Mhm.
for them to both be young again with the little kids, but also to be leaders. Um, But also with middle schoolers and this whole developmental crossroads of social, their social relationships with their peers is so important.
Yeah.
And I know they're always so nervous about, am I with my friends? Where am I going to sit? Like, and it's not as much about the teachers necessarily. I mean, there is some of that, but it's also about where are my friends? Where do I fit? And where do I belong in my social um, kind of group?
Mm.
But then again, with the parents too, like they are still young, so you still need to have that parent involvement, right? So we've created just on a, as a practical idea is during the week of teacher in service, we actually let our teachers come in a little bit late that morning. And from 2 to 4, we open our doors. It's a school-wide, not just middle school, sneak a peek. But the whole purpose is for the whole family comes in, the kids come in, they bring their paper towels and all of that other stuff that they don't have to carry on the first day, but they get to go see their classroom, meet their
Oh,
teacher in this
great.
very informal, very, very informal setting. And what ends up happening with our middle school students is that they leave their parents far behind, and it gives them that time to reconnect with their friends that they haven't seen. They find their lockers. Is my locker by your locker? All of these really important kind of social interactions that have to take place can take place on that day
Mhm.
and not
Yeah.
the first day of school.
I,
And then we've also moved on the other side of them needing support because they are still children. Um, we moved our middle school back to school night. We have it the first day of school. It's like on the third day. It's on the first full day of school.
Mm.
And it's kind of hard for our teachers, but our teachers, like they understand why we're doing it as well. Because the faster we can connect with our parents,
Mm.
the easier those first days of middle school are going to be with, this is how we navigate our schedule and all of those particulars.
I love that, Nancy. And what came to mind is executive functions. We are
Mhm.
seeing our students come to us with lower executive function capacity. And so they need that time to get those schedules and those routines. And the more we can say it in many different ways. So I think it's brilliant having the parents come in from the get-go because you're setting the framework. And I know your teachers, middle school, give out syllabuses, so they have the middle school syllabi to go over and cross-reference and all of those things. Um, I just want to throw something out there though, but what about the student who's new to your campus? What
Mhm.
about the student who doesn't have that friend to reconnect with? I'm throwing it out to the group here. How are you queuing in on the students in your classroom or the students in your school to make sure that we've talked about creating a campus of belonging. We've had our meetings as teachers before the students came, but then we're seeing those students still, I don't know what to do. How do we help them?
We got
Anyone?
to buddy them up.
Buddy them up. Okay.
So I think one of the things that we do, especially with students who are coming in like mid-year, not so much at the beginning of the school year, because I think that our teachers do a great job of including those new students and
Mhm.
making them feel welcome in those first couple weeks. But for us, if they come in later or there was a delay in registration, is to find somebody who matches their energy, right? And
Mm.
then just saying to them, hey, this is somebody that you can, check in with if you need anything, any help. Um, but it does kind of make it, I mean, as a middle schooler, right, they're kind of just feeling awkward being kind of put on that spot of like, oh, I'm new now, I've got somebody to, watch. So we try to make it kind of like low key of just like, hey, and we pull that student, our current student aside and just say, hey, they're new. Can you just, watch out for them and just include them in, your conversations, include them at lunch, include them at recess, but not anything that's like a major deal for them. Because I know that middle school students, it's kind of one of those ducks pedaling underwater, right? They look cool, calm and collected in the top, but they are frantically drowning underneath water. So it's just
That
kind of
I
playing
love
it cool for
I,
them.
I love the buddy system. Isn't that what we do for our new teachers as well?
Mhm.
Mhm.
If they're coming in so that they're not on an island by themselves and they're not stuck in a silo, that they feel part of, the the creative chaos that happens that first week of school. Um, So we talked about the culture we create begins answering those questions for the first moments we walk in the door. We're talking about the routines, procedures, and expectations. Um, I think you've kind of answered my next question about what do we prioritize. Um, so I'm going to throw open now an open forum then, because you guys are just so clever and smart and passed through my question there. Is what routines matter most in middle school? If I were to say what routine matters most, what is it going to be? Let's go around the Brady Bunch screen, and I'll start with you, Nancy. If you would throw something out, what matters most? What routine?
Um, I'm gonna say the first thing that's coming to mind, I'm not sure it's hard to choose one that matters the most, but I'm gonna say, like in our school, it's how do we go to lunch and we have recess. Our middle school has recess. It's
Awesome.
like navigating those social times.
Yeah, very good. All right,
Mhm.
Lindsay.
I was going to say transitions too. So let me think of because we all know how important transitions are. And let's not even say just to get from place to place within the building, but how do you come into class? How do you settle from the chaos that might be the hallway or from a specials
Very
only
good.
class to kind of get recentered and refocused into that class period or whatever class they're coming into?
I love that for two reasons. Because when we talk about the executive functioning strategies that they need, but also to Nancy's point, they are still kids. And by giving them the routine, we're actually upholding their dignity. Because then if we teach them the routine, we don't have to yell at them. We don't have to lose, well, we should never yell at them. Uh, that was my rule in my schools. We don't ever have to raise our voice. Let's talk. They're human little, and we can talk with them with dignity and respect. But by giving them the routines, that allows that to happen, right? It just allows the flow to go. Mary, what's one routine that matters?
Well, I always made sure kids knew where to get supplies. If they didn't have
Mm,
something, I wanted to have it for them
I
because
love
I didn't
that.
want them to have to leave. So once you're in those, once you're in my four walls, I want you to stay. So, oh, you need a pencil, it's over there. Oh, you need paper or you need a notebook, there it is.
So, Mary, you're not that teacher in middle school who says, "Oh, you didn't come prepared. You can sit all day and listen."
No, because
And I want to thank you for
what good
that.
is that?
Who does that serve? Who does that serve? Right? Thank you for
Right.
that. I just want, we all know those teachers. So thank you for that. Trisha.
Transitions.
Okay,
Going
transitions.
from like homeroom to the next class, but within the class itself, going from teacher instruction to group instruction to homework practice, independent practice, just letting them know what the expectations are as you're moving from one thing to another because they have a real hard time with it.
Yeah, yeah, they do. And some of my secondary pals, they've started to bring their ninth graders in over the summer just to go over routines.
Mhm.
Because research is also showing post-COVID helps reduce anxiety. It helps give them a framework and it's building that EF muscle. So that's awesome. Karina, do you want to add something before we move on?
Sure. I think those are great ideas. And then I would like to just go in the other direction, which is how to ask for help and not help in the
Mm,
classroom, but like emotional help, right?
okay.
That's very high on the hormones, right? There's lots of different social things at play that hurt feelings, but how do we deal with
Yeah.
that in order to then get back into the learning, right? So who can you talk to? When is it appropriate to talk to them? I guess that's a lot of those transitions, right? But where
But
to
that's
ask for help
great.
emotionally.
Isn't that cool? You know what just made me think of, I always carry I don't know if you can see this, but I have this little ring, three ring binder, and I have scripture on it, right? It's my go-to. I keep it with me when I travel, whatever. That's a great thing for middle school students, right? When we're talking about a toolkit for middle school. Welcome to middle school. Here's your flip cards. Like this will get you through middle school, right? What's our routines? Where do you go for help? Et cetera, et cetera. So that's awesome. So thank you guys are so smart. I mean, this is why you're amazing people. Thank you for that. Routines are not about compliance, right? We know that when they're introduced with care and intention. It provides safety, reduce anxiety, and it frees students and teachers to focus on relationships, learning, and growth. So thank you for that. Let's talk about communicating well with parents and families. You know, we always say that our parents are the first teachers, and so we want to bring them into that dialogue. Even though we might not always agree with the choices our parents make, we have to assume that they love their children and they want the very best for their treasured children. And so we want to be what we can be for them and partner with them. So what do middle school parents need to hear at the beginning of the school year, and how can leaders build trust with families early? Right? We talk about the middle school anxiety. I can tell you, multiple hands if I had them, how many conversations I had with brand new middle school parents that were full of anxiety because their son or their daughter couldn't get the multiple class schedule, and it was providing just the stress at home and the extra layers of homework and all of that. So when we talk about what do parents need to hear at the beginning, Lindsay, through your lens, when you're working with your 90 schools at the Archdiocese of Washington, what are you telling them? What kind of words of wisdom are you giving them?
I think the focus needs to be on we're a team. And I think sometimes we get in this push and pull and it becomes an us versus them sort of situation. And I think as school leaders or district leaders, we just need to take a step back and understand that, as you said, this is a transition period for the students, for their families, and that, it becomes commonplace to us. How many years did I teach middle school? And it's just, oh, this is what we do. This is the high school placement test. This is when they're transitioning from fifth grade to sixth grade. And it becomes so commonplace for us that I think sometimes people forget that these are their children. And we need to take that step back to have that perspective of, oh no, we're a team and we're going to work through this together. And I think in all things, education is to not make assumptions about what they're able to do or submitting the deadlines and submitting the applications, and to be able to speak and communicate clearly with families and to let them know that we're here to support them and to ask for help, because I think sometimes that's just an assumption. We assume that they know these things and then it goes without saying it. But then from the district lens, like you said, to offer those structures that school leaders can adapt to meet their school community, because nothing is going to ever be a one size fits all. So that going to be in the form of the communication reminders. Okay, HSPT is coming up, so our high school placement test is coming up. Okay, these are the things you should be sharing with your families. Is it in the form of resources? Okay, here we're having a one pager and we're going to send it out electronically, and here are the links. I love a numbered list. I love anything color coded to send out to those families so it's easy for them to follow through, or a calendar template, but just things to kind of be proactive with families, because we want to kind of alleviate some of that stress the most we can by forging those strong partnerships.
I love that, Lindsay. So we need to assume the good, that our parents mean well. Sometimes it's easy for us to forget in education, regardless of the governance model, faith-based, public, private, is that part of, well, in our faith-based, we can say it, right? Is that part of our ministry is to the parent. And we minister to the parents in our word and action just as much as we do to the students placed before us, right? And so I always encourage my teachers to pray for their parents too, right? Because that's powerful. Nancy, that principal perspective on beginning of the year communication, you do a really great job, and I've seen this in communicating with your parents. Can you talk about, because I think it would be helpful to know the various ways in which you communicate text, e-news, whatever, because I think regardless of the size of our school, we can communicate in different modes, right? Because that's important.
Right. I think that so in the beginning of the school year, we even start, actually, we started very early, even sending home, like we create a checklist. There's your number list. So we have a back to school checklist of
Those would
everything
be
the parents
happy.
have to turn in. So those go out via email. We try to send anything that's going to be a problem, like, there might be something we have to fix or to avoid the anxiety. Like Denise, I know when you talked about the anxious parent, and
Yeah,
I think a lot of that too. I mean, like sometimes when a parent is coming at a teacher or coming at an administrator or whatever, it's actually just anxiety, like it's worry,
that's right. Yeah.
and it comes out that way. So if you can diffuse that, and so I think like we send out homeroom placements, like math placements, if you have leveled placements like that, all of that go out early so they can kind of digest it,
Mm,
have a conversation if there's a conversation about it with the administration before school even starts. So we can put that aside so that the beginning of the school year is not that way. But we also, we've moved the traditional state of the school sort of back to school administrator presentation that usually happens in schools. We've moved that actually online. We find that for our parents, it's easier. And I say to them beforehand, you can be on a soccer field, but at least you're going to hear me, right? You can be at your dinner table, you can be wherever it is. And we find that it's easier and more convenient for our families, and we have more participation that way for that. But then when they're coming to meet the teacher, that's really important that they come in person and meet that teacher in person,
mhm.
face to face. It's a different relationship. Um, and I think, but it's also important to do the other, you know, other ways to do that personal touch. I think
Mm,
like of being present at I have morning car line every day, rain or shine, or walking out at dismissal, depending on how your school does that, so that there can just be that kind of
mhm.
informal, I've seen you, you've seen me, I'm a person. It's
Yeah.
easier to connect that way. Um, but we've also gone old school in my school for a couple of years now. It's our third year where we buy bulk postcards. We do it for the whole school, but we also the middle school, and they're just goofy. You had their teacher postcards, like they have frogs on them, like what a ribbiting day or whatever like that. And we hand them out to teachers. We usually in the beginning of the school year, it's when we do our
Mhm.
push for positive parent postcards, because even the middle school parents love to get that piece of hard
Yes.
mail on a random day in their mailbox that just said, you know, Johnny did a really great job today on his math quiz,
Oh my
or like,
gosh.
I love the way that Johnny is such a good friend
You
to
know,
his classmates.
I love that. That's a positive school culture strategy.
We bribed the teachers. I mean, well, we didn't. We incentivized them, and I think that's important for them too, because they're doing the work. Like they're doing a good job
Yeah.
and being
Yeah.
real missionary, like servant leaders by taking
Yes.
the time to write these postcards. By the way, we addressed them and posted them in the office. They could just throw them in the office, and when they turned in a postcard, their name got entered into a drawing, and every Friday for
I
the
love
first, yeah,
this.
up until parent-teacher conferences, we pulled a name out and they got a Starbucks gift card or, something,
Yeah.
a Snickers bar. Didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Um, and
That,
it's just a little
that's
morale
awesome.
booster, but it made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, that's a great strategy. I've not heard that one, Nancy. I love that strategy. I'm going to be using it,
You
just
can
so you
steal it.
know.
Feel free to steal it.
I'm stealing it and sharing it, and now everybody listening is going to steal it and share it
Mhm,
too.
mhm,
That's really good. And you're also ministering to the family because our families are working multiple jobs to try to
mhm.
keep their kids in school, and they might not sit one night with their child for dinner. And by you just sending that, or your teacher sending that one little positive postcard, you might not ever see the ripple effects of what the Holy Spirit can do with that, but that's so powerful.
Right.
Um, so that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Karina, parent partnerships, beginning of the school year, any must-haves? How do you catch and communicate with the parents early?
Well, similar to Nancy, I do the afternoon dismissal. And so I try to get out there early just to kind of first verify the child is going into the right car, but
That's good.
also to make sure that I just be able to like, lay eyes on those parents,
Yeah.
right? Even if it's just a little hello or even like those positive postcards, if something happened with that kid at, during that day and I know of it, I can say it to the parent then, or just inquire about how they're doing or tell them, hey, they're doing so great. Um, but just to have those little moments of connection. But I think that one thing that is really important for parents to hear from us is that it's going to be okay. This is a tumultuous time in your child's life.
Yeah, it's
Lots is going
special.
to happen, lots of growth is going to happen. But no matter what happens, what storm passes through, it's going to be okay. We are here, like Lindsay said, right, to partner with you, to walk with you through these stages. And we're going to do what we can. You're dropping off the best that you've got, and we're going to just work it together. So, really important for them just to hear those positives, and it's going to be okay.
Oh, thank you, Karina. I love that. Trisha and Mary, anything that you feel is important as a teacher for communicating with your parents?
I'll start. So when we start school, I usually email the families just to kind of give them an overview of what's happening, making sure they have my email and contact information so they know they can get a hold of me. Um, I like to use a triangle. We're a triangle. They're a point, I'm a point, the kids are a point.
Hmm,
And if one of those points isn't there, then we don't have a complete triangle. So
it's a good
it's a
visual.
partnership that we have throughout the year. Um, my email's always open. I'm pretty good about getting back to parents quickly, um, because I know how I felt as a parent. So I want to have that relationship with them. That way, when things are tough, we have that open door that we can talk and figure things out without them coming in, being all anxious and things like that. So I like to try to do something with that anxiety in the beginning.
I love that. I love the triangle. The visual is very good.
Mhm.
And so is a classroom charter where the students
Mhm.
sign the charter and the parents get a copy of their child signing what kind of environment they want. Because the visual of the triangle, the classroom charter, and there's a plethora of other strategies out there. If you lead with that when you're talking with the parents, that might in a conversation that might be fueled with a lot of emotion, that does help de-escalate it because you just lean on those tools as the soft approach into the conversation, instead of I feel this or that, well, we're a triangle. And so let's talk about this. Those are very good. Mary.
Yeah, I agree with everything that I'm hearing. I think parents need to know right off the bat that you really care for their children and their children are important to you.
Mm,
And they need to know, how to get in touch with you and that they trust that you're going to reply. And they need to know, or I feel like those middle school parents still want to know as much as they possibly can. So they want to know what their children are learning. They want to know when a test is going to be. And so I would usually try to give my parents a couple days notice and say, hey, seventh grade has a science test on Tuesday. And that way they could know that their student should be preparing.
I love that. Thank you. You all gave such good wisdom. Uh, You shared your wisdom. Thank you. And you gave great strategies. I want to skip down now because of time and look at notice the good and lead from middle school experience. So I'm all about sharing the good as evidenced by. I've been this way my whole life, and that's one of my charisms of the spirit. And so when we look at ways teachers and leaders can notice, celebrate, and share the good early in the year so joy becomes part of the school rhythm, give me one strategy. Now, it's not always about the good. Difficult times will come. If we've created an environment within our faculty and staff that we're a family, then we have created the structure that we can love each other enough to enter the difficult conversation. But for this point, how do we make sure that we're seeing the good, we're sharing the good to keep that thread of joy for the school year, for that rhythm, for school culture? And I'll start with you, Nancy.
I think this is a hard one because if it's the beginning of the year, a lot of times things like like an easy way in middle school to share good is like sharing their accomplishments when they're in athletics or in their clubs and theaters, like how important those are to them and sharing those. Um, but I think we also, I guess, whatever your school is too, of really figuring out how to make like your PBIS system. If you
Yes.
have that, whatever you're using, we use a house system.
Positive behaviors. Yep.
And so really just doubling down on those and looking for those. I think it's important for the teachers. It's setting an expectation and it's setting a culture of
Yeah.
being recognized for when you're doing what's right.
That's right. Like
Mhm.
I just want to compliment Lindsay for being a good listener. So
Yeah.
right, Lindsay might not be the basketball player, but
Mhm.
I can as the teacher say, I see you, Lindsay, you're a good listener. As Nancy's talking, you know, those kind of things like setting that tone early, like you mentioned. All right,
Mhm.
Lindsay, let's throw the speaking stick to you. What's one good way in which you can see and share the good?
Something I learned both when I taught middle school and when I was a principal was to literally find the good in the day. Because I would go home and one thing would not go according to plan. I'm like, it was an awful day. And I'm like, okay, was it really an awful day or did one thing just not go to my plan? And then when you ask yourself that at the end of the day, and I would do this every day at the end of the day in my classroom or in my office, of what went well today? Like, what students did I get to reach? What impact did I have on people? And then over time, very quickly over time, those things that didn't go right didn't seem so catastrophic. They didn't seem so big to me anymore because I intentionally set aside that time to find those snippets of good. And this was before I met you, Denise. So finding the good in all of the things every day because we have them. And there's so many moments that build a teacher's day, a principal's day, a district leader's day
Hmm.
that we really need to take the time because we're always going. There's never enough time, but to take that minute to actually stop, whether it's in the car or it's in your office or classroom before you leave for the day. So, what went right today?
I love that. Lindsay, it's like you created your own examen, right? Like Saint Ignatius of Loyola is up in heaven going, woohoo, see the good. I mean, you can see it in all things. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's important for us to help children and young people to see the good. Because life is it, who does it serve when we bicker, we gossip, we put other people down? Who are we serving? It's not God, right? So the more we can help our young people train their eyes to see that, like you just gave that perfect example, Lindsay, powerful. That's a lifelong strategy. Mary.
So at the start of the past school year, our sixth graders came in and they just seemed so nervous. And
Oh.
I saw them right after lunch and recess. And so they kind of trickled in, because some take a little longer. And so as we're waiting for everybody, I would say, oh, well, what's good that's happening? What's good that's going on? And so they got kind of used to that routine. And sometimes I'd be like, okay, we're starting. And they're like, wait a minute, we didn't get to tell our good thing yet. And I didn't realize how important it was to them just to
Mm,
say good things. And then another great thing that
love that.
one of my coworkers started with them was giving them sticky notes and then just having them write positive notes to each other or even to teachers. Like sometimes they would just put a positive note on my door, and it was so uplifting for me. I realized how much more I needed to do it so I could uplift them.
I tell you, Mary, I call them Thankful Thursday sticky notes, but those sticky notes have power. Um, and what we're really training the kids to do is also they go home and they're the light in their families, right? That's such a powerful ministry. I love that. Thank you. Um, Karina, I'm going to end with you this time, Trisha. Karina.
I think for me personally, it's taking that like slowing down to Lindsay's point, right? Taking that time to think of, okay, what was a good spot in the day? What was a bright spot that I noticed? because we are so trained on just go, 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 go,
Yeah.
one thing after the next, right? It's taking that time. So being able to kind of pause and do that, what's going on that's going well today. It's just hard. Yeah.
I love that. It's hard to calm down, right? It's hard to calm our spirit. It's a muscle. Yeah. Trisha.
So we have in our school we have like a homeroom time in the morning where we get like 20 minutes, 30 minutes as kids are coming in and out. And once everybody's settled and announcements are done, I have a theme each day that I do, and on Thursdays we do Thankful Thursdays. So we kind of go around the room and share the good. So the kids get used to, we just share what's going on good in our lives. So,
Yeah,
and if
powerful.
if there's troubles, then, if you get them to be a family, then we can talk to each other too. So,
Mm,
getting them to work as a group is very hard in middle school. They don't always like to share.
yeah,
So I don't force it,
yeah.
but as it works through, people will open up more. So
Mm, I love that. Wow, you guys are inspiring. I'm going to say on behalf of LaTonya and I, we're so excited that you're going to be with us, providing some insights on our manuscript and hopefully with us again on this series under the Middle School Culture Blueprint. Um, we know, and you've shared it today. When you train your eyes to see the good, we're not ignoring the challenges, as Nancy mentioned. We are choosing to notice where grace, growth, effort, courage, and connection are already present. The practice is a muscle. We talked about that can shape the rhythm and help build and maintain a positive school culture. So as we prepare for the 26-27 school year in this final reflection, what one piece of advice, encouragement, or wisdom you would like to offer to a middle school leader or teacher or both who wants to create a positive start? What's one word of wisdom, encouragement you'd like to give them? And we'll start with you, Mary.
It would be to make connections, just to connect with your students, with your administrative team, with other teachers, ask questions, be curious about what's going on in their lives.
Mm,
Just the more you know about people, the more you can understand what they're bringing to the table every day, because we're not all coming from the same home. We're coming
yeah.
with, we come to that school with different things. And we need to just know as much as we can about our coworkers, about our students, and just try and be uplifting and as helpful as possible.
I love that. Be curious. All right, Nancy.
Mhm. I would say to remember grace because um,
Amen.
to give yourself grace, to give the kids grace, to give the parents grace, and like all these things we've talked about, like they're the ideals, and the ideals are really important, but we have to remember that life is real and life is messy.
Yeah.
So we all need grace.
Hmm. Nancy, thank you for that. Lindsay.
Mine is to be open to build relationship with people, open to digging deeper because there's something behind the eye roll. There's something
Mm,
behind the words that they're saying, and to be open enough to dig deeper, to understand where people are coming from and understanding how you can build those relationships, and then also open to seeing things from different perspectives. So
yeah.
taking a step back to reflect on what's happening, see situations from other people's perspectives, and build that empathy.
Love that. I spent all last week with Dr. Joy Roberts from Frenzy, and I'm sure when she hears us, she's going to be like, yes, yes, yes. on that. So, uh, she was my bucket filler last week, her and Dr. Nikki Dowd. So thank you for that. Trisha, Karina, I'll end with you.
do everything with love, just
Mm.
as you're talking about grace and belonging and making connections. I think that sometimes we have to stop and take a breath and
Mm.
remember we're all human and we're all people. The kids are, their parents are. And if we do everything through God's grace, then it'll all fall into place.
Mm. Yeah. I'm so glad I started my Monday with you guys. Karina.
Wow. I'm a little overwhelmed right now.
It's
Because those
emotional,
are
right?
all
Like, oh,
those are all fantastic ideas, and I'm just thinking, I'm like, what can I add? What can I add? And I don't think that there's much to add. I think those are all fantastic things. Taking a pause, right? Recognizing that we're doing this for our students and our parents. Recognizing that, it's building the kingdom of God as we're going through our day, and that we got this. So I don't know. I think everything that everybody else has said has been just a wonderful idea and perspective to kind of keep as we move into this year.
oh, I love that. We can't take ourselves so seriously, right? I mean, we're all his vessel. We're light for one another. Um, And if you don't teach in a faith-based school, we can still be the light and the good in the world, right? However that looks to you. But I know everyone on this call, this episode, teaches in a faith-based school. And so I know that we can lean in on the Holy Spirit and just ask his presence to be with us as we move forward. So I want to thank you for being with me, some of you on your vacation, being with us and beginning this journey with LaTonya and I. She can't be here today. She is doing amazing things for the Archdiocese of Miami. But I want to thank you, Nancy. I want to thank you, Mary and Lindsay and Karina and Trisha. And I want you to know I see you. I see the good work that you're doing, and I'm in awe and inspired by your leadership and your choice to serve others. And so I see you, and I'm so grateful and honored to have you in my life. So thank you. Thank you for joining me on this middle school culture blueprint reflection today. I'm grateful for your dedication. And to all the school leaders and teachers who will watch or listen, um, I hope this conversation encourages you to pause, exhale, reflect, and prepare with intention. A positive school culture takes time to plan. Thank you for joining me and joining us on Sharing the Good with Dr. Denise Ball. Until next time, please join the Sharing Good community to continue to notice, name, and share the good. There's over 120 years of expertise and service to education on this call, this episode today. And so stay tuned for more good conversation.